It is my privilege and honor to start talking about our guest speaker and the wonderful talk he has in store for us. Brother Ravi Mariwalla, and I called him doctor yesterday, is not new to us. He came to us and talked to us. But for those of you who might not know fully about him, it's worth mentioning at least a couple of things. First and foremost, and maybe the most important thing in our lives and in Swami devotees' lives, he spent 9 years at the feet of dear Swami. And if there is a definition of coming out with flying colors, 3 gold medals, including the overall gold medal from our dear Swami. And as he just told us a couple of days back, after that, Swami held his hand and kept him in Parthi for 13 more years and to serve in the super specialty hospital. And he has also had the privilege of working with our late Viswanathan. Wonderful service to the community and loved and blessed by Swami. Before I invite him to speak, I do have to say, interacting with him over the last few months, as we talked about, and in the last couple of days, he is the most flexible and humble individual. Teja and I have been busy running around, especially myself. He was very flexible, say, come at this time to this center, or come in the car, we're going here, we're going to eat food here, we're going to food there, you name it. He has been the most flexible guest. Thank you so much, Ravi. Now, please come and help us navigate this spiritual path. Thank you.
Om Shri Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
With humble, loving, and worshipful pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet, I want to thank you all and thank Bhagwan for honoring me in this way and asking me to be your guest speaker. You have many choices, and there are many other great individuals who are much more qualified and who have developed themselves also in a greater way than I have. It is very humbling to be at South Bethesda Center again, because your center has been one of the older centers. And even over the course of yesterday, your Ladies' Day celebration, I could see the spirit, the connectedness with Swami, and that is very ideal. And I'm going to take a lot of that back to my center. Whenever I have traveled to speak, I have sort of learned to stay very cautious, because I know there is more for me to learn than to share. And I've always been sort of watching and cautiously waiting for what is that lesson that Swami has lined up for me, so to speak. The other thing about speaking, as I was looking at that beautiful picture that you have there, as a speaker in Swami's presence, that same trepidation, that same question about, do I need to do this? Should I be doing this? Am I qualified to do this? Started to come up in my mind as you were ending Ashtotar, because I knew I am up next. And over those years when I had the opportunity to speak in Swami's presence, I knew that anything could happen. And not merely that, those speeches were also an opportunity for me. The mic was given to the speaker. That was an opportunity to express love and devotion through the medium of inspiring the other listeners in Bhagwan's presence. And it is those memories that I want to recount to you, and I promised myself that I will cut back on the preaching and the lecturing and the teachings that, are easier to read and regurgitate. But I think through the medium of the few experiences that I want to share with you, you will yourself be able to draw out that authentic divine message, which is age-old, which is Vedantic, that Swami was trying to communicate to us. People say that only the beginning and the end of a speech matter. So I had to really think about what I should say to you right in the beginning on this sacred occasion. I listened to many talks, and the one or two things that I want to place before you is that this Satya Sai Baba, this Bhagwan, this Swami, this was that individual who could create change with one interaction. And that is the most important thing I want to bring towards you. Swami could create change with a single interaction. And that interaction didn't have to be prolonged. It didn't have to be a dialogue. With one mere look of his, he could change your heart. If you read what John Hislop has written when he was in his first trip in Prashanti Nilayam, and it's worth recalling those transformative moments when Swami raises our consciousness without our knowing it. And Brother John Hislop has written, Swami made a little western dry heart wet with his love. And that is what when Brother Suri was saying that I had this chance to be in Swami's direct presence for 23 years. And there is so much gratitude that wells up in me as I even repeat that number. Because that same power that made Swami able to change people with one look, one time taking a letter or one word that he spoke, that same enormous, extraordinary, never seen before power also made it very, very difficult to stay with him, to be around him, to meet his expectations continuously on a day-to-day basis, whether it was in music or in speaking or in just being a part of the hostel or in terms of working at the hospital. Every day, the sole objective of our life there was not necessarily to please him, but definitely to ensure that we are not displeasing him. And that is what Swami was. He never wanted from us some fantastic offerings, some great abilities, some sensational gifts. He wanted us to align with his basic teachings, his basic messages, which for us at that time were simple things. We were adolescents, and the simple thing he wanted us to continuously practice was sense control. Because if we practice that, then we would be able to live and benefit from his presence in the best way. So, our topic for today is with gratitude, love, and faith. We are not here to just reflect, act, and accelerate. No. We are here to reflect, act, and accelerate on his divine path with immense gratitude. Because, brothers and sisters, you and the other millions of devotees who are celebrating and worshipping Swami today, you need to congratulate yourself because you made it to the 100th birthday. You made it, right? Like I said, this Bhagwan was a powerhouse. He himself told us that in no other avatar, this scale of transformation, this scale of projects have ever unfolded in the way they have under this avatar. So it was equally difficult for all of you devotees to meet up to Bhagwan's expectations, to continuously follow him in the life of a householder. And that's why, as we think about the gratitude, the love, and the faith, that little person there running, the little icon there for cycling, and finally, the householder who is jogging with the pram. So I took out this little paper from my bag because, when we used to speak in front of Swami, carrying a paper was totally banned. And imagine you go up and Bhagwan is seated here, you have to bow at his feet. And sometimes I used to carry a letter of prayer. And Swami would want to ensure that this guy is not carrying a paper. So from my pocket, he would pick up that paper and keep it at his table side. So he wanted to ensure that you have to speak from memory, you have to speak from your heart. And I'm going to tell you a few of those stories about my experiences as a speaker. So Bhagwan's life, if you had to capture it in a simple way, there were three big things that happened. There were global events. And even those global events are difficult to capture. But that Vibhuti Abhishek, where you see Professor Kasturi holding the empty pot, right? And there are many such events that we got to see in later years when Swami materialized the lingam. Devotees told Swami, we were not fortunate to see the lingodbhav, the lingam emerging from you on Shivratri. So later on, towards the last few years, Swami did the lingodbhav every year. And it was enormous as an opportunity to sit in front of him, to see what happened to him physically as he allowed the lingam to emerge. So those were the marvelous, somewhat sensational events that happened. And then societal uplift, a lot of societal uplift related activities Bhagwan did. And I was one of the blessed students to be amongst the first few employees of the hospital, and that's the second picture. And then the third picture all of you will recognize, all of you know, you just chanted. Fantastic, I'm glad. Jodi Adipalli Sumam, that is Sister Sudha Raghunathan, and that marvelous story about her recovery. And if you ask me, Swami's life proceeded in the reverse order. All through his life, he was only working to inspire individuals. The rest happened on its own. Once he inspired the individuals, and he had them come together to work together under his guidance, success was achieved in all of the other activities. Now we as students, we had like what you call a ringside view. So I don't mean to give you a negative analogy, but as a kid, I lived in Bandra, and there was this famous Bandra Gymkhana, for those of you who know Bandra, and they had arranged a boxing match there. Now, it was my first opportunity to sit ringside, and it was so different from watching a boxing match on the television. I could virtually see every drop of sweat of the boxers. And in later years, when I had opportunities to sit for musical programs very close to the performers, I could see how different the musical performance is. And that is exactly what happened to students. We got a courtside or a ringside view of Bhagwan. And many of these things, even as I was sharing with Brother Suri, Sister Teja and others, many of these things about how the plane was built, how the thing happened, how the incident happened, we students got to see and experience that. These are just a few collages which give you a sense of the way, as we say in management, right? A day in the life of Bhagwan. This was how the day in the life of Swami happened, right? Marvelous things he was doing. He was traveling, he was giving darshan, he was at the yajna, and so many other things filled his life where he touched the hearts of the devotees through all these interactions. Now, as an SSC student in Bombay, and I've said this many times, I don't want to take you back into that. I was drifting into bad company very fast, very fast. And you know, Swami was always worried in later years. Whenever I said I'm going to Mumbai, Swami would say, Mumbai will to now. He used to like open his eyes large and say, do you really need to go? And I think it's not that much about Mumbai as it was about my Sangati. I was getting into a lot of bad company. And at that time, you know, we were in a very active samiti. Indulal Shah, Sarla Ben, my mother was working with them. And then our SSC teachers, I still remember them. They really changed my life. There was a Harvard professor, Mr. Nanavati, who taught me in my later years as a Group 3, Group 4 student. And he would drive from Mumbai to Parthi every year and always get an interview with Swami and come back and tell us. And in the study circle, I'm not asking you to do that in your study circle, but in his study circle, people would come from far and wide because he had that direct contact with Bhagwan. And they would also discuss dreams that devotees had. Of course, today it's different. We don't talk about that. But those people influenced my life so much that I started to change. And I know it's hard to talk about a little young teenager talking about change. But the moment I made those decisions to reform myself, I got this opportunity to speak in front of Bhagwan in Goregaon. And you know, in those days, we were allowed to garland Swami, and Swami sort of welcomed me on the stage. And as I spoke, that divine glance, you can see, I'm so grateful that this picture is there for me. It's not as much for you as it is for me. Because this was my first deep interaction with Bhagwan. And for Swami to look at you and to look at you for a long time. Of course, I didn't know about that while speaking. Others I would have broken down. But later on, when I saw this, And after my talk, Swami created Vibhuti, and he made me sit on his side and gave me literally a private interview. And the other speakers were so angry with me. They found my mom and told her, "What does your son think? He is like having an interview with Swami. Swami didn't listen to any of our talks." But that's how Swami is. And at that time, he agreed that I should join the college. And brothers, sisters, this story probably I've narrated it so many times on YouTube also. But in my small view of Swami, in my little understanding of Swami, when I asked him, "Swami, I want to join your college," I only knew that somehow I had to become near Swami. When I used to visit Prashanti Nilayam in those early days, I used to see these armies of white-clad boys going into the portico and Swami interacting with them. And I don't know, I just wanted to be near him. But very little did I know that for him, nearness was less important, and he was going to, over the unfolding 23 years that I would spend at his feet, he was going to teach me what is the definition of dearness. How does he want us to be, not merely near, but dear him as well? A few months back, Ravi Kumar sir, who's the very early Brindavan student at Whitefield, and then currently warden of Swami's hostel in Brindavan, he came to Atlanta for our retreat, and he said some awesome miracles and stories and all. And at breakfast, some of the devotees were asking me, "How do you like Brother Ravi Kumar's speech? You know him and all?" Yeah, I said, "Of course I know him. He taught me." We pulled his leg because when he started teaching, he was not that good a teacher as he is today, and we troubled him and all that. And they said, "So what do you make of his talks?" And I told them, "I think you are all making a very big mistake." So why? I said, "Because this is like Brad Pitt up in the sky getting ready to do a stunt, jumping off the helicopter. Right? And you guys are applauding. You are not asking him, 'Hey, how did you become Brad Pitt? Why is the whole world up looking at what you're doing?" And that is what we need to know about every Sai devotee. If you think about Kasturi ji, or about Professor Nanjundaya, or Dr. Anil Kumar, who's no more, we only know those stories of their successful interaction with Swami. We are not even interested in knowing how many times they got beaten up, how many times Mr. Chakravarti, who was always around Swami until the very end, y'all don't know. But we saw as students, 6 months at a time, Swami would exclude him, not even look at him, not talk to him. Even Brother Radhakrishna, who drove Swami's car, we were at Kodaikanal together, and one day I had a chance to ask him. I said, "You're so lucky, sir." And he said, "That's what you think, that I stay inside Swami's room. But do you know what I am inside that room? I'm like a pillar. I'm a pillar. Nobody looks at the pillar." So the learnings, the steps that we had to take to mold ourselves, to redesign our lives, to refashion how we thought in order to live around Bhagwan, this is the most important thing. And those black and white photos that I showed you, that is the success. Okay, this guy got this opportunity to speak. He could ask Swami questions. Swami blessed him, gave him vibhuti. He got those lovely pictures. I want to tell you the sad part of what unfolded after that. I became so popular as a speaker, and Mumbai, right, callers up. We went to Parthi for the birthday celebration next year in 1979 with Nimish Pandya. Nimish Pandya was our leader. And Mr. Indulal Shah at that time saw me there and he said, no, you spoke in front of Swami, you speak again now. And I didn't have much time to prepare. And I was warned that you can't take paper. So I was a small boy, I was in eighth grade. So I went, I didn't know enough about what is Purnachandra Auditorium to even be fearful. I had never been in Purnachandra Auditorium. So suddenly we were seated at Swami's side and my turn came to speak. And I got up, I said a few things and then my mind went totally blank. And this group is what, 200-300 people. That was about 10,000 people and Swami. And I just didn't know what to do. I didn't have a paper. I couldn't recollect anything. And Swami is waiting, looking at me. Is he going to be able to bring up something? Is he going to be able to continue? At that time, I think I didn't have the gift of the gab as we all develop later on in life. And I kept thinking what to do. And finally, Swami said, this is a lot of waste of time for so many people. And he called me and I broke down. And then, Swami's, that table where Swami would give a discourse, right? With the mics, that's purposely made large so that you can hide at the side. So I hid. See, that is, in everything he gave his grace, right? He knew, obviously he knows everything. He knew, okay. These are, last speech was good success. I gave him love and grace. This speech, I taught him a good lesson. I made his mind go blank. But then I could weep at his feet for a long time until Swami got up to speak. And for the rest of that stay that we had in Puttaparthi at that time, 4-5 days, massive crowds, I don't know, 500,000 people maybe. Wherever he saw me, he would say, good boy, good boy. He said good boy some 30 times over the next 4 days to me. So, this is about how we get there, not what happens after you get there, right? How you get there is very important because today we need to revive those lessons, that lesson learning time, those adjustments. What did you guys do to be able to survive there? Swami used to himself say, I am like a fire. He used to come out after the interview and he would be standing there casually and talking. And he used to tell us, I am like a fire. And he used to say, it doesn't seem like a fire now, right? It's very nice to be around Swami. But what we got to understand is that, this is the sun. When you're far, far away, millions of miles away, the sun dries the clothes, sprouts the seeds, grows the plants, right? But if you are so close to the sun, you better get ready for a very different experience. You got to hold on for life. So I purposely told you about that desire to be near in those black and white pictures and my downfall within the span of a few months. And that is the sort of catharsis, right? That repentance. Those, whenever you're humbled, whenever you fail, but Swami has not removed you from his presence. Those learnings held me in very good stead as I went forward in my career with Swami. So now I'm going to revisit a few fun memories that I had with Swami. I've shown you in the past a lot of pictures of our band, we played the brass band and all of that. But as a speaker, I want to tell you a few things that happened. So it was not, again, always a success story. So in the later years, when I was blessed to stay inside Swami's residence in the Purnachandra Auditorium, that was actually my toughest time because I would speak whenever Swami asked outside in the Kulwant Hall, but then I had to face Swami's feedback in the Puranchandra auditorium all over again. You're understanding, right? So first you face the fire, you're talking in front of him, and what Swami would do as you became a mature speaker, right? He would interrupt you sometimes. And you had a flow, you had a set of ideas, and you're going to go in that flow. And Swami was near you, and he would suddenly look at you, and you are looking at people, right? And you can't do this and speak. So Swami would suddenly say, Chal, hospital gurinchi cheppu. Tell about the hospital now. So you are narrating some miracle, and Swami will say, now what do you do? That miracle, I narrated it only quarter. I have 3/4 of the miracle to go, Swami. Can I please finish that and then talk about So now what to do, right? These are the decisions you have to make, because you want to get a few claps from the audience, or you want to mesmerize them, or you want them to say, what did you do there, right? So these were the challenges that often came up. And one particular occasion, after I spoke, then I went to Puranchandra auditorium, and Swami was waiting for me. He wanted to give me strong feedback, but he was planning, he was strategizing, he was thinking how to do it, right? So Mr. Chiranjeev Rao was there. He was pressing Swami's feet. HSD Srinivas, Lalita's brother, was there. And I really failed badly at that time. And that's why I want to tell you about it. So the moment I walked in, Swami said, he didn't look at me. He took up a letter to read. So I knew this is not a good sign. Because if I spoke well, Swami is proud of me. He'll say, Chala bagundi, it's very nice, you did well. And he'll talk about what you said and all that. So he took a letter. The moment he saw me coming, he took up a letter to read. So that was the first warning sign. Then after some time, I was pressing his feet. And then Swami said, Emaindi, etla unnaru, how are you all, and all that. And then he couldn't hold himself back. He wanted to get to the feedback. And he said, Emannaru andaru, what did everybody say about your talk? And I said, see, this is a trick question, right? If I say they were very good, Swami, gone case. If I say bad, then I'm opening the door for a lot of feedback. And what should I do? What should I do? So I said, I tried to be very clever. I said, Swami, mother said it was good, right? So I said, manchi, but I could make out he's irritated. Manchiti means it's good, but he's saying it with an unhappy way. And then he said, Father emannaru. And my dad had told me after my talk, this is very analytical. You didn't speak from the heart. Now I had to tell this to Swami. And when I told that to Swami, ade, that's it. So these were the difficult times we had to face, right? First, and then what happened, I broke down. And it was hard to take, right? Because the pressure of speaking and then the pressure of taking the feedback, these things coming in tandem is tough. On another occasion, I'm going to tell you all my failures. Be ready. On another occasion, Swami called me and said, private interview room. And for 15 minutes, he told me what he wanted me to tell in my speech the next day. It was very clear, it was very obvious, but I memorized it. But while standing in front of him and speaking, I totally forgot everything that he had told me to say. 15 minutes in the private interview room, he kept on telling me what he wanted me to say. Totally forgot that. And I gave my speech. And then I had to go and face him again in the private interview room for having forgotten that. So that's another failure. On one occasion, this is a very beautiful thing. I was working in the hospital. Swami was talking to the boys. There was a video that you showed yesterday, and he asked me to speak. And it was very difficult because these young kids, right, they were all kneeling in front of Swami. Now, I wasn't that young anymore, so but because I was following them, I also had to kneel and talk. And that I have the picture somewhere, I'll show you. And we are all so gung-ho, right, about Swami. Swami's our hero, Swami's the greatest, Swami's the best. And I started to say that. And Swami was sitting like this with his hands. I have that picture. And then I was saying, this is the greatest avatar, because I was witnessing what is happening in the hospital. And he just, in the middle of all my noisy, loud speech, Swami is sitting like this. He says, just turned to me and he says, how do you know? How do you know? So I was saying, Swami is the greatest, the all-time great avatar, this, that. And Swami just asked, how do you know? And I'm like looking at Swami, what? What is that? And then it struck me that I was saying that across times, past, present, future, Swami, compared to the other avatars and all that. And he said, how do you know? And that became a big mantra for me, because if you don't know something, don't say it. You barely know what is happening in Swami's life over a few years, right? So to make tall claims, to make big claims, he put us down. And to me, that showed also Swami's great humility, that don't just praise me as the greatest and the one be all, etc. Now I'm going to shift a little bit, shift a few to a very different phase. So at Swami's feet, there was so much conceptual learning. Swami's discourses were awesome. Swami's Swami used to send word to us that he wanted us to read his literature. We were listening to his discourses, and in those days, after every discourse, there would be a printout. And for foreigners, we would go and buy that printout and read it. Now, from that stage onwards, it became very evident to me, and as a speaker, that I am good at regurgitating Swami's message. I read a lot of spiritual books. I read about Jesus Christ, I read about Mahatma Gandhi, lot of books on Sri Raman Maharishi and Sri Ramakrishna. And I knew that now is the time to act. And that is why I requested Suri and the officers that let's put that title, Reflect, Act and Accelerate. Because all that we learn as concepts, Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, if you heard Aishwarya Rai's talk on birthday, right? It was like SSC class she took. You are not one but three bodies and all. Fantastic teachings we absorbed as Swami students. And I joined in 11th grade. I brought a lot of medical entrance books. I wanted to become a doctor, so Suri yesterday fulfilled my hidden desire by calling me a doctor. And then I threw away my medical entrance test books because I said, it just doesn't make sense. We have to just stay around Swami. We have to just live around Swami. There's no value in the world. And then I did my undergrad. Then I did my grad studies. I did my master's in biology. And then my father had a heart attack at the age of 54. So until then, I was in cold storage for Swami. I mean, I was a member of the group. Swami would call us for group interviews. But I was undergoing that sadhana. Many people would say, hey, Ravi, you are always reading Swami's books and you are meditating and all, but you are not going to Kodaikanal. The other boys have come 2 years back. They are already in Kodaikanal. Are you sure you are okay? And I used to go on, right? And this is the fun, right? Little bit of leg pulling is shows you where you are. But when my father had this heart attack, then I didn't know what is my locus standi, what will Swami do. But I just went very sort of half-hearted with a letter in the front and sat. And Swami took that letter, he opened it, read it, and he said, "Call your father." And when they came from Mumbai, he gave them an interview. He rubbed vibhuti on my father's chest. And that's another story to tell you another day. But really speaking, brothers and sisters, my father's heart was in a very bad shape. And he was 54, 55 at that time. He lived until he was 86. He passed away about a couple of years back. But what I want to tell you is, just as I went to Swami thinking I want to become near, but Swami constantly was teaching me how to become dear to him. In the same way, we went to Swami thinking that he should cure my father or give him longevity. But really speaking, what Swami did by rubbing vibhuti on his chest is he made him into a student. He made him into a person who loves Swami. He transformed him beyond what we thought into a lover of Bhagwan. And I'm proud to say, and I'm grateful also to say this, that through he worked in the trust and he was chairman of the Bhakt Sahayak Sangh. But through all that, he developed that curiosity, that love, that stickiness that we all had as students to Swami. Till the last day, he was always thinking, how can I get closer to Swami? He would call me up here in the US. Tell me something, Ravi, what can I do? You guys were close to Swami. What did he say? I say, you're 86, you can relax. He said, no, I got to. And we started living outside the mandir, but he would make my mom go crazy. He said, I want to go to mandir. So, what you go to Swami for, but what he gives you in addition, we got to stay alert for that. Now, this whole idea about are you ready? Are you ready? So I told you, I threw away those medical books. I wanted to stay with Swami forever. But after Swami worked with my father, then in that interview, he told me, you do your MBA. Now, I thought MBA is a blessing, but MBA became a problem also for me. During my MBA time, I started to, for the first time, after all, I'm from Mumbai, right? My dad company had some 3,000 workers. He had hired most of them. When I used to go for holidays, those workers used to come and tell, we want to see your son. We have never seen him. I would meet them. Hey, what is he doing, sir? He's doing BSc. Oh, BSc? Sir, why is your son doing BSc? Why isn't he doing engineering? Sir, my son is doing MBA, engineering. And this sometimes used to upset my dad. He said, why are you just doing any course which is not going to help you get a job? Now, the need to stay around Swami was so important, so all important that nothing else mattered. But while doing my MBA, I started to think about the world and go out into the world. And it is at that time, towards my first year ending, when Swami started calling Bharat Dutt, who many of you know, and myself, into the interview room and preparing to send us to Dr. Goldstein's house in the US and to join the hospital. And we got more than 40 interviews with Swami, just the two of us. And sometimes Swami used to call Dr. Goldstein inside also and tell him that you have a swimming pool, make sure that these guys are not swimming, but they are going to work on the hospital things and all that. All that used to happen. So with so much input about joining the hospital, I started developing a fear that, hey, I don't want to join Swami's hospital. And this went on for a long time, so much so that one day during our college time, Swami sent Professor Nanjundeya inside my class, and he called me out and he said, Swami is very worried. He has given you more than 40 interviews and you are not committing to Swami that you will join his hospital. And, we can become very clever, right? We can become very ambivalent, very diplomatic. And I sort of didn't tell Professor Nanjundeya anything. But that evening when I went to the mandir, Khayal Das, who was the doorkeeper in those days, told me, what are you doing? Swami is waiting inside. Now I was really worried. I'd already forgotten that Professor Nanjundeya told me this message in the morning. When I opened the interview room door and I went inside, Swami was seated there. And he told me, put on the light. And then he said, what have you decided? And I was just silent because I knew now the moment of reckoning has come. You got a lot of interviews, you enjoyed. It's like, you are invited for a feast and then they ask you for that agenda, right? So I enjoyed that time with Swami, but I was not committing. And now the moment of reckoning had come. So Swami said, why are you not deciding? And then I just went close to Swami and then he gave that is grace, right? He said, na agya undi. Good for you, good for parents, good for the world. Na agya undi. Agya means both command and wish. And brothers, sisters, these are the most important interactions with Swami which can be life-changing. When you go to analyze this, after all, I became a clinical perfusionist. I didn't rock the world with the role that I played. I was not some cardiac surgeon or director of the hospital, nothing. I was just a clinical perfusionist. But Swami invested so much time in giving us that opportunity to sacrifice, to make a sacrifice. Otherwise, our lives would have just been so normal, so everyday. After my MBA, I would have tried to do some, find a job, get into a career, and just gone that route. Swami saw something in me, not as a great contributor to the hospital, but he saw the hospital as an opportunity for me to learn so much and to continue to stay in his presence, most importantly, for another 14 years. This is a great example of the pain that Swami took, the investment that he made in all of us to convince us, because he knew that the best thing for these guys is to be in that environment that I have created, to be in my aura, to bathe in my aura. And that those ideas, those desires that were sprouting in me to go out and work, they were not so strong. So Swami was able to help me with his divine intervention at that point. Now that is an example of a time in my life when the guidance was very clear. The build-up to the guidance also was very clear. Are you all with me? So many of us who lived with Swami, as well as now devotees, you will all have opportunities where the guidance is very clear. Sure, short guidance. What is ambivalent in that? Swami said, na agya undi. It's my desire, my wish, my command. Good for you, good for parents, good for the world, he said. Where is the doubt? I just dived at Swami's feet and 14 years passed in a flash. And during those 14 years, fabulous interactions, incredible learnings. And then towards the end of that phase, he blessed me even further. So if I look at my life, right, there were ups and downs, like that failure of that speech, and many other ups and downs were there too. But in that time frame that I was given around Bhagwan, he had planned to give me more and more direct experience, direct exposure to his way of working. And during the last few years, he took me into his residence, and I was so blessed to be amongst a few individuals, noble and self-sacrificing individuals like Mr. Shauri, Brother Satyajit, Brother HSD, and others, and to see Swami in his living quarters, right? That was a different experience. And many times I used to think, why didn't I get that experience before? And I always ask that question, because you were not ready. Are you ready? Are you ready to act? So that single event of Swami telling me, Na agya undi, I moved from sitting on the fence to committing, right? I was attached to Swami, but I was not committed. And Swami will never force you to do anything. This is well known among students and devotees. If you don't have the commitment, you're welcome to take a step back, to leave, to take another path. But if you have prayed enough, if you have given Swami to become in charge of your life, that's when he will step in and tell you something like that, Na agya undi. There was no distance between us. He was okay to give that guidance, and I was okay to accept it because that distance was gone, that alignment was a little bit higher. I also want to tell you about a time when there was no guidance. So, Swami was in Vrindavan. This was the third year of the hospital, 1993. And our surgeries would go on, cardiac surgeries would go on till 2 a.m. There was no transport to get back to the mandir. So one of our students, he had a bike, that electric scooty kind of thing. So at 2 a.m., 3 of us were on that bike, and there was some construction going on near the airport, and we skidded very badly, and we fell down. Luckily, the scooter, there was obviously, even now, 2 a.m., there'll be nobody, but those days, this is 93, luckily the scooter was running, so we came back to the ashram. We slept till around 6. Then we noticed that we had some wounds. Swami wasn't there. And then we went to the general hospital. And we didn't know. But when we went to the general hospital, immediately they called up people in Vrindavan, and they told that Swami's students, they had this accident and there's an injury and all that. And then Professor Venugopal, who was the leader of the cardiac surgeons from All India Institute, who was operating there, he came to see us. So we were now fully embarrassed. First of all, it was our mistake that we skidded at 2 a.m. And now it is like, oh my God, Swami's hospital, they are not looking after the kids and the workers and all that. Now, Swami came back in a few days, and I was seated in the front. And due to that little injury, our white pants are difficult to hide anything. So Swami saw me seated and he said, "Kya exhibition karta hai? Bleeding ka exhibition karta hai." So there was a little bit of bleeding on my left knee. And then Swami said, "Okay." So see the way, like Steve Jobs has said, if you hear his talk, Steve Jobs has says, connect the dots. It's very important to connect the dots. So that accident led to the bleeding which Swami saw. Swami said, why you're sitting there with legs folded, it will keep bleeding. Buddhi leda, you don't have common sense. Sit here, he told me. So there is a ledge. Yeah, now it's not there. There's a ledge there where you see that right side curtain, the green curtain. That's where Swami asked me to sit. Lady took off from the lady's side and she ran towards Swami like at comet speed. At comet speed, she was running towards Swami. In those days, there was no security around Swami. Mr. Khayal Das was there, And there was nobody. And Mr. Khyaldas was round. So Swami used to say, "Kya ball jaisa roll karke jayega, tum udhar baitho." So he was like, he knew, I don't have any responsibility. I'm just going to sit here. If Swami calls, I'll see. So now this lady was hurtling. She was just running towards Swami. And due to that knee injury, I had to sit there. So I was, as the crow flies, as the shortest distance to Swami, that lady's distance to Swami was reducing, but I was already closest to Swami. And Swami was doing like this. This lady wouldn't stop. 6 Sevadals ladies running behind her, unable to catch up with her. And she was strong, she was young. There was no time to think. Na agya undi, it is my wish, no such guidance will come. I hesitated for just a fraction of a second and I ran towards Swami. I was afraid. First of all, our teachers and all will think that, see, they were not able to see that this lady is running towards Swami. People will think that I am trying to attack or run towards Swami. There are times like this when you have to do the right thing irrespective of what people think. Irrespective of what people will think. Later also they will think and criticize. But I ran. I just got in front of Swami and she came with such force that I didn't know. It was a wrong thing in a sense to do, but it was the very right thing to do in many other ways. I had to immediately lock my arms around her. She fell down. Sevadals came and took her. But there was no other way to stop the force and the speed of her running. She was a devotee. She was, later on they found she very devoted, but she had that welling up of emotion. And what happened is, my knees started bleeding a lot, but the force of her running was so much, I was taken aback. I was conscious that I am only centimeters away from Swami's face. And I could not go back. But even then, I was pushed back. Swami is not budging. Swami is standing just there like this only. And then I went and sat. Of course, public will always clap. Those claps become a very big problem because then people say, oh, you did this to get the claps. How do we know what is going to happen? Now, Swami was very happy. He was doing like this. Then he came towards me. I was shaking. More than any speech, I was shaking. Now, what have I done? Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it expected? Am I going to be thrown out? I don't know. And he just did like this to me, just a small gesture with his eyebrow. And he took me inside the interview room and he said, see, not only your knee is bleeding, even your little toe is bleeding. And the interview room, there was my both legs, both feet, little toes were bleeding. And he took his own kerchief and he kept it. And he told, put it. I said, Swami, I will do. And then he materialized a barfi. Barfi. That is rock candy. And he said, eat it now. And he said, sweet heart, sweet work. So I said, Swami, I'm just saying it now. That is such a blissful moment in our interactions with Swami, right? And the reason I have not told this in many forums, the reason that I want to bring this up to you all brothers and sisters is, look at the time when there is clear-cut guidance. Do this, don't do this, go here, don't go here, join this, get married to this person, change your job like this. Swami is given direct and clear guidance. You don't need to hesitate. Millions of people have trusted that guidance, benefited by it. Their lives have been better, they've earned wealth, they've earned satisfaction, they've done Swami's work. But there are these moments when there will be no guidance. And that's why I put the label of that as Vibhishana. What is Vibhishana's story? When Hanuman went to Lanka and he visits Mother Sita, then he finds that somewhere there is Ram Dhwani coming. And he says, who is chanting Ram's name in this cursed land? And he finds that there is Vibhishana, Ravana's brother. And then when he's talking to Vibhishana, and Vibhishana says, oh, you are the great Hanuman. Tell me, how can I have Ram Darshan? And he said, the problem, Vibhishana, is that you are doing Ram ka naam jap, but you are not doing Ram ka kaam. Mother Sita is languishing there. She is in the sun, in the rain. They are ill-treating her. And you are happily chanting Ram Naam here. So, this Swami narrated to us many times in the interview room. We were very cheeky. One of us asked Swami, Swami, this story is great, but did Rama tell Hanuman, when you meet Vibhishana, you give him this counsel? Was it all gamed? Was it all learnt? Was it all scripted? He said, Buddhi Leda. Swami said, no. He said, no, not at all. Hanuman never knew all this is going to unfold. But Hanuman was so much in alignment with Sri Ram. He didn't need to even think what would Sri Ram do in this situation. And of course, that's a problem. When you ask a question to Swami, he will then flip it on you. And then he started telling us, all of you are not aligned with me. You don't know what I want, which is what you have to become like Hanuman. Now in the middle box, there are times when the guidance will come, but there will be difficulty in deciphering the guidance. It will be hidden. And I want to tell you that story. This also I have not narrated for. When I narrate it, you will understand. So once Swami was very upset with all of us boys. And somehow he used me, he would talk with me, but he was a little bit upset with all of us in the hostel. So then when Swami came to the hostel finally for a visit, he asked me and another boy, MS Giridhar, our students know him. So Swami didn't sit on the throne that was arranged. This function was arranged in the quadrangle of the hostel. So our hostel, the senior boys hostel, is like a rectangle. In the middle, there's a space. Now they've grown a lawn and all, but in those days there was grass, there was sand. So Swami was to show that he is upset with all of us. And this is what you should take away. You don't only want to know the big sensational things and great things that happen. You should know the building blocks, how those great things happen. You should know the troubles Swami and we all undertook. Think about that Brad Pitt thing which I told you, right? Think how Brad Pitt landed up there, not of that stunt that he's doing. So Swami was upset. The throne that had been arranged for Swami there was a Shirdi Baba drama. Swami saw in the corner some ordinary chairs were kept. He said, get me that chair. So we thought maybe he wants to offer something. We said, open it. And he sat on that ordinary chair. It was rusted. It was rusted. It was wobbling. He said, we all begged him. The warden came close by, said, then he allowed myself and brother MS Giridhar to massage his feet. We were sitting there. And the events were unfolding. There was a short music program, then there was Shirdi Baba drama. Now in the middle of that Shirdi Baba drama, suddenly he looked down at me and he said, Nen veletapudu matladali ani cheppu. I couldn't understand what he said. I wasn't sure. I had no idea that my ears had heard right. He just looked like this. Imagine, big function going on, drama, music. He just looked at me and he said something. So, oh my God, what is this? What did he say? Am I sure what I heard? And then after 10 minutes, to express his dissatisfaction, this is how he trained us. This is how he corrected us. It was not like the function is arranged and dinner is cooked and Swami. No. He was going after us. He wanted us to have good thoughts, good actions, good words. He was constantly working with us. So avatarna, when we say avatar comes down, this is all theory. Avatar, what is the meaning of avatar? Avatar is one who can work with everyone. Guru is one who will select the disciples. I don't know if you know, Sri Ramakrishna was considered Sattva avatar. They would not allow people to touch Sri Ramakrishna. And how this came to be known, after Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's death, Mother Sharda, she opened up and she let people come closer. She would give them mantra, abhishek and all that. And then they would touch her feet. And the close disciples found that she's developing boils, she's developing fever. And they didn't know, it's very perplexing. Why? You had no exposure, nothing. And then they asked her, Shardama. And she said, see, Father, she used to call him Father. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was Sattva avatar. He could keep people away. But I cannot, I am the mother. And when these devotees with so much impurity, householders, people doing bad activities, bad character, when they touch me, I don't want to refuse anybody because this mantra that I give them will change them. When they touch me, the act of touching the feet of the Guru is the transfer of the energy. The negative energy goes into me, my positive energy goes into them. And when I read this, I was on the portico. Swami was going outside to give 3,000 Andhra Sevadal Namaskar. And I thought, my God, look at our Swami. With no concern for himself. So that is what happens. There's a transfer, negative, positive. Your sins, the Lord, the Guru takes. And that is what is avatarna. Avatar coming, we become so used to it, right? Say, descent. What is descent? Descent is willingness and ability to set aside all judgments, all expectations, all assumptions, and to work with individuals. And that is what he's trying to teach us. That when we say inclusiveness, it's not about walking into the bhajan hall with shoes. That is not inclusiveness. That is triviality. Inclusiveness is the Sai Avatar. Who, if you had stayed in Parthi like some of us stayed, you would see people from all countries, all backgrounds, all cultures, all colors, all languages, all ages. He would talk to Shankar Dayal Sharma, President of India, and he would come out and take the letter from primary school kid and talk to him about how ice cream is like God. I have been in the interview room with Sri L.K. Advani and Mr. Ashok Singhal, Vishwa Hindu Parishad leader. And they tried to put Swami a little bit on the spot and say, Swami, so this Ram temple, where is it? How should we build it? And Swami, of course, you can never put him on the spot, right? And that's when I heard from Swami's own, in Swami's own words, when he said, Hamare khayal mein Ram temple idhar hai. And they were totally floored, right? They were trying to get it out of Swami that, yes, of course, today there's a great Ram temple and we are all proud of it. But Swami was never going to be narrow, confined. He was always expansion, right? It was not like he had to put on that air. So that, coming back to that story, now what happened? Swami got up and he started to walk out. And in any visit to the hostel, there is Vedam group like you had, but your Vedam group was very small. our Vedam group will be 20-25 boys. Then there was Bhangra dance. They are dancing, all headgear, lungi, everything dancing, colorful. Now, of course, Swami is upset, so a little bit toned down. But Vedam, Bhangra, and then so many VIPs were there. Swami had brought all the VIPs from the portico, those who sit on that left side, and he brought them. Now, this procession was about as long as this hall, end to end. And Swami started exiting the quadrangle. Now suddenly I woke up, and that terse input that Swami gave, I was not sure what it was, but I think he said, "Nen veletapudu matladali ni cheppu. When I am going, tell that I should speak." But I wasn't sure. Today I am telling it as if I am sure. Then it struck me, oh, Swami is leaving. And it is so negative. Never it has happened that Swami came, they did the programs, but Swami is not given his message. I just jumped up. Everybody is looking at me, and I knew I am going to be finished later. Everybody is going to think this guy is a egotistical, arrogant, person who's looking for glory. And I ran up to the stage, and I looked, is there some other mic? There was only the mic that they had arranged for Swami. I said, now double gone case. I am using Swami's mic. Look at the arrogance of this boy. But there was no time. I took the mic. They had not put it on. I said, please put it on. And then I said, on behalf of all the elders, Vice Chancellor, Swami's guests, and all the Sai students, I humbly request Bhagwan to come to the dais, as if everything is going hunky-dory and Swami just has to come. And Swami is there, far away. And I don't know. And Swami is looking back and said, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then this procession, Bhangra, Vedam, VIPs, like a big school of people turned around, and Swami came back to the stage, and he took the mic and he started blasting me first. Said, this boy doesn't know what he's doing, and he just called me. I was happily going, everybody see the inconvenience and all. Then he gave his discourse. He poured his heart out. He told us what we should do better. It's like we say, right? I don't mean to superimpose our human thinking on this great avatar, but it allowed Swami to tell us. After all, these words are very important, right? These words are the only way we could understand what is Swami's expectation or Swami's level, what are we doing wrong. Every day we were adolescents. We were this idea that it's natural to sway, natural to not live up to Swami's message was not acceptable to him. And so many times, even y'all must be knowing how he used to play. Whenever he used to not talk to the boys, we would go up to him and tell him, Swami, please speak to us, please. He used to tell us, you are all doing mono acting. You are all doing mono acting. What is mono acting? All soliloquy and grandiose ideas, and you're talking. You're doing mono acting. Because you're acting on your own, I am doing maunam acting. You do mono acting, I will do maunam acting. Maunam means I will be silent. All it's like what we used to wonder for those weeks and sometimes months. We say, did we join Swami's hostel or are we devotees? Like we are seeing Swami less than the devotees are seeing. And that angst, that frustration, that feeling of emptiness. We left our parents, we left good colleges and more accredited colleges, and we came and we sort of adopted and embraced a simple lifestyle, but we are not getting to see Swami. That anger, that frustration, that desire to get back to the old ways with Swami, that was what he wanted. That was what he was trying to awaken in us. Basically, that's another way of saying your conscience, right? Our conscience was on tenterhooks in Swami's presence. But that is the third box, that's the box in the middle, where sometimes the guidance is given, but you can't be sure. And even if you're sure, these thoughts will arise in your mind. Oh my God, what will the warden say? What will my classmates say? What will my roommate say? When I go back to my room, everybody will say, look at this guy, so arrogant. This part, now it is so many years after Swami is going, I'm just sharing with you. That part that Swami said as guidance, right? That is both a test for you. Can you do it? And that's why it's not the conceptual learning. It's enough. You know Vedam, you know meaning of the Vedam, you know shlokas, you know bhajans, you know meaning of the bhajans. When you chant Gayatri, yes, then you think, oh, I'm not getting anything out of chanting Gayatri. Now I should remember the meaning of the chant of the Gayatri. This is all knowledge about knowledge. And it's important. It's important. Knowledge about knowledge is important. But far more important than knowledge is action. 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 You and I cannot sit on the sidelines like I was doing and say, somebody will look after this mission. Anyway, it's not a big role. That's what I thought. How do I matter? When people were telling me, why aren't you committing to Swami? So what difference I am going to make to Swami? But Swami wasn't thinking like that. Swami didn't think, oh, this guy is going to play small. Every brick in the building matters. Every part of the infrastructure and the operations matters. And there was something mystical about how Swami worked with us and got us, motivated us students to do all of this. But did it make sense? Did you get the idea of this step that we all need to take beyond conceptual knowledge, meanings of shlokas and verses, the need to act? And when you set about, when you make up your mind, when you pledge that, no, I will act. So there is an attachment we all have to Swami, but commitment is a different thing, right? That commitment is necessary if you have to act. And you may not always be given the most rosy role, the greatest role. Are you willing to act in a small role, but you need to fill that role? These are some of the lessons I learned, and today I thought after so many years, I will open up and share how when there is clear guidance, when there is zero guidance, as when that lady charged Swami, and when there is guidance but it is uncertain, it is unclear, if you are aligned with Swami, you will put yourself up to the task and deliver. Did it make sense? Did it go through? Awesome. These are some of the pictures about our interactions with Swami, and I want to tell you that I was telling somebody yesterday, on June 13th, Swami sent us, 1991, Swami sent us to Delhi. We went to Puttaparthi to pick up some bags and other things, and we came back. When we were driving from Parthi to Whitefield, we looked at what was supposed to be the hospital site. And we looked a lot. We made the taxi stop there. But all of us could see that there was only a metal fence. Really good metal fence was there. But there was nothing else on June 13th. On November 4th, Swami called us back from our training in Delhi. And see, he made our lives so rich, right? It's not just like June 13th to November 4th, nothing happened. In that time, Swami used to ask Chakravarti sir to phone us up. Every week we would get a call from Chakravarti sir. How are you all doing? Is there water coming in the bathrooms? Is your driver taking you in time to All India Institute of Medical Sciences? Are you all eating well? All that he would go and communicate to Swami. Then after 15 days, Swami sent money. And who did he send money with? all the brigadiers and major generals and lieutenant generals who lived in Delhi, when Swami gave them an interview in Puttaparthi, he said, "Oh, Delhi jata hai, wait." And he took 6 envelopes, he put money in them, and said, "Hamare ladkon ko jaake do." So Swami, when they came to our residence in Defense Colony, which was Ratan Lal Lamma's guest house, they told us, "What are you all doing for Swami, which is so special that in the middle of the, imagine, he's a lieutenant general, like here they say 4-star general, 5-star general. And Swami is so concerned, he stopped our interview and he went and got these envelopes for y'all." And then we used to write letters to Swami every week. And then we increased the frequency to twice a week. Now you put yourself, this is what I like to tell you all. Think about kids who are 23, 24 years old. We are away from Swami. So to speak, we can do what we like. But twice a week we were sitting down and writing letters, posting them to Swami. And Swami had promised us that I will write a letter to y'all. But that letter was not coming. So we doubled our letter writing and said, "Swami, your letter is not coming. We want you to write to us." And then Chakravarti sir called up and he spoke with me and he said, "You all are troubling Swami asking for that letter, because what happened is Swami wrote the letters and gave me. I forgot to write so our address was D-158 Defense Colony. And I forgot to write the D. So I wrote 158 Defense Colony, and the postman has written on the cover, made multiple rounds, in Hindi he wrote, around this huge colony, and it went back to Swami. So when Swami saw that, Chakravarti sir took that letter, he said, "Duno pota, they are waiting. Send these letters immediately." And then the letter reached us. So on November 4th, I'm just giving you a quick snapshot of how Swami was involved, and he, as the one who was managing millions of dollars worth of funding, all equipment was to be brought from the US. There were customs hiccups. You cannot imagine the chaos, the pressure, and the stress that was being passed on even to Bhagwan. Now on November 4th, when we came back to the mandir, we were dying to go to the hospital, and Swami sent us. And when I went to the hospital, first thing, I used to work in the cardiac operation theatre. So I asked, "Where is the cardiac operation theatre?" So they told me it's on the first floor, but there was no staircase and the lift also wasn't there. So I said, November 4th, November 21st, Swami has promised to the world that we will be doing operations. So they told me, "So if you really want to get that stuff, you have to go from outside the building, but you be careful, there's a very shaky ladder." I said, "What?" So I climbed up that shaky ladder and went inside a big hole in the building, which opened into the cath lab. And the moment I entered, they said, "Move out." A crane was bringing cath lab equipment into that hole. They left that opening in the wall because there's no other way to bring that equipment. It's massive, right? Fluoroscopy and all that. So that was the first shock. Then I went to what was supposed to be the cardiac operating room, and there was nothing there. It was a beautiful, clean room with nothing in it. And after some time, some people came and they started fixing the AC vents, just like your AC vents, like that they started. I said, "It's November 4th, and I started imagining, like a few days old in cardiac surgery, right? Few months old. And I said, "Oh my God, sterility, this, that, and all that." And then there was no lunch you won't get any lunch there. And Swami said, "You all come back, go see the hospital and come back." And that picture that you see, right, is when the next day. But let me tell you what happened that time. So we came back, there was a bus that brought us back. We came back to the mandir. At that moment, Swami came out on the first floor of the mandir. That is just above this circular thing that you see there. If you see that yellow, blue, pink piece, right, under the emblem, that's where he came out. He came out there and he started talking to the boys. They're always waiting boys and all that. Now, it's our habit, not that we want to present ourselves to Swami, but Swami is out. The bus stopped near the South Indian canteen. We quickly made our way to Swami. Swami saw us and he said, "Hospital boys." And then he asked me, "Kya dekha? Kaisa hai hamara hospital?" And I was like bringing all that negativity that I had gathered by my small understanding. I was about to say, "Swami, kuch bhi tayar nahi hai. Nothing is ready." And he said, very quickly, he said, "Aisa hospital dunya mein kidhar bhi nahi." Where such a hospital doesn't exist anywhere in the world. And he emphasized, "Kidhar bhi nahi." So I said, years later, I said, "Oh my God, thank God I didn't utter my negative words. Who are we? You came in the middle of the mission, you went in the middle of the mission. His mission is His glory." But it wasn't all that simple. On the day of the opening of the hospital, Mrs. Safaya, many of you, and that's what I tell all Sai devotees, their ears are ringing with my advice in my center. I say, you go to Parthi, go meet the people who did these things. Go meet those blessed souls. Just like Professor Nanjundeya, Professor Anil Kumar, Mr. Bhagya. Go. You never met Kasturi ji. Kasturi ji gave us our hall tickets. And he told us this incident that I wanted a mantra from Swami. And I dressed up and everything, and I said I went to Swami, and Swami instead called me for breakfast. And I was sitting and eating breakfast, and I wanted mantra from Swami. And Swami said, "Oh, mantra kaval. Enduku Kasturi, why you want mantra?" I said, "Swami, to be close to you." And Swami nudged him like this with the elbow, and he said, Inta dagra, how much closer?" So Kasturi ji told us this. The reason I told you this, he told us this example himself. So, brothers, sisters, everyone who has tasted that nectar, it's not about the individuals, it's not about me, it's not about those individuals. This avatar, this sweetness, this flow, this selflessness, this love for humanity, this giver, you got to go meet those people before they are gone. Whenever you go to Parthi, make an effort to go meet some of these people, understand what they underwent, and have your takeaways from that. But I was going to tell you this part, that Mrs. Safaya, we were very close with them because in Delhi we would live with them, we would eat with them. Mrs. Safaya, she told me this herself. She is no more. Dr. Safaya is no more. She told Dr. Safaya early morning, "Let us take a taxi and run away from Puttaparthi because we have failed Swami. Let us take a cab and quietly run away from Puttaparthi because we have failed Swami." So today we all have big houses, number of cars, growing bank accounts. None of us is putting ourselves in the situation of what Swami and the people at that time underwent. If we are devotees, if it was Radha, if it was Meera, if it was a Gopi, they would be crying to immerse themselves in that dimension, in that situation that Swami and the people underwent. Today you don't have that opportunity, but we must weep, we must cry, we must search our souls as to how we can be a part of His mission. And it is 15 years after He has passed, His mission is going to continue. But knowing about how these people faced and took their task seriously, is very important if we have to continue to participate and contribute in His mission. And it's not only that Mrs. Safaya said, "Let's take a taxi and escape from here because we failed." Professor Venugopal went to the cardiac OR one night before. And you know what he found? This is how Swami motivated the individuals. It's not like, "Oh, Swami just wished." We say, right? "Oh, this is all Swami's will. Millions of dollars will come." No. There were holes in the wall. The equipment was stuck in the customs. Don't think it happened magically. It was through Swami's unbending will that this happened. Unbending will. Professor Venugopal went to the cardiac ORs alone at night. He got some janitors to open. In those days, we used to use formalin. You can't breathe formalin. Your lungs will get up. He went, he had a doubt. He went up to the gas pipelines and he found that two gases were exchanged. So this is how he was head of cardiac surgery at AIMS. He had 15 cardiac surgeons working under him and a staff of about 400 people. That man went alone and opened the formalin with the janitor's help and tested the anesthesia machines. So if we have to participate in Swami's mission, we cannot be armchair critics, armchair appreciators, conceptual learners, filling ourselves with more knowledge about knowledge. We got to act. And however small that action is, however inconsequential it may look, one day Swami called me and he was blasting me. He said, "You are a Devadrohi." Devadrohi means you are against God. You are. And I said, "Swami, what happened? I don't know now what's the new storm." And he said, there was a brochure printed in 1993. There was a cardiac symposium organized. And cardiac surgeons from all over the world were invited. Great surgeons. People whose names are in the, after whom procedures are named. Such great people came. And there was a brochure and in that there was a small spelling mistake. And I told one of the leaders that, see, we should be very careful. But I didn't take it up. And later on, after that brochure had been circulated, this person mentioned to Swami Mariwalla Cheppyaru, we should have changed that. He said, you are all my people. And if that spelling error is going out to so many thousands, you knew it. You should have at any cost saved my honor. So you understand, it is not only that we sit here and we do center activities. We have to think that so much is happening. Not only necessary that you go to Puttaparthi and work, but you should have the buy-in from your heart. Your heart should bleed. Your heart should weep. That, oh, this is my Sai. I didn't know all this about Swami. What else? What else? What else? This is how that mission was built. Stop saying, oh, with a wave of his hands he did it. It is a divine will. Please stop saying that. That divine will manifested through the motivation, through the energy, through the willingness, through the urge to participate in that mission. You don't know, when the day that Swami made the announcement in the Hillview Stadium where the programs are held today, everybody who heard that announcement said, none of this is going to happen. It was so impossible, even though Bhagwan himself was saying it, it was impossible to believe that it could really happen 1 year later. It was impossible to believe. Puttaparthi had nothing, no power, no... Even when I left the hospital in 2005, power used to go, electricity used to go for 12 hours at a time. How are you going to do cardiac surgery, ventilators, IABP pumps and what? You have no idea what Swami undertook. It was completely impossible to at all happen. On the day that we started cardiac surgery, it's not my gold medal that mattered. There is that picture where I asked Swami, the same day I'm receiving gold medal from you for MBA. Should I come or should I just continue working in the hospital? He said, no. Quickly finish operations and come. So we did 4 cardiac surgeries on day 1. And you don't know the complexity of those surgeries. We did a tetralogy of Fallot, which is 4 defects in the heart on a tiny tot. And for 20 years after that, the patients who we operated in the first week used to come back and we used to say not anything else but this salam to Swami. Because we saw what is happening in Puttaparthi? What can support such advanced work from happening? And the doctors who used to come from Delhi, at that time only Escorts Hospital came up. You can read up. Escorts is a very big famous hospital in Delhi. For one whole month, they did one heart operation a day. Swami's hospital, without any staff, without any proper, everything was brought in place for that. But he took up that challenge of doing advanced work. So when I went to the stadium and we had finished 4 operations, we cleaned up, and around 4:30 I went up, they called my name, I went and Swami put the gold medal around my neck and he asked me, operations Jarignai Baga? Did the operations go on well? I was fortunate as I think back, right? No other person had reached Swami. Of course, he knows everything, and everybody wants to be the person who is giving good news to Swami. But that day it was my honor, in my own small way, to be the one to tell Swami that, yes, Swami, your announcement, your dream, your blessing for these people has come true and it's all gone well. That was my good fortune. I know we are. I know we are coming up on time. I will just conclude with one idea. Of course, reflect. And in reflect, if you noticed, don't reflect only on Swami's glory and all the nice things, the successes. Reflect on your failures. I have another 20 failures. I asked my kids, should I tell the audience about my failures? They said, no, Papa. Enough. Let's remember our failures. How many times we say great avatar, but it's such a great avatar. Why did you fail? You didn't know at that time. So such a great avatar. We owe so much to him, not merely in Puttaparthi, not only the good he is doing to the students and the hospital, even all of us. We are enjoying this great Sai community. Totally trustworthy, very reliable. Our kids have grown up in this Sai community. Everything we owe to him only. So reflect on your failures. Reflect on what you could have done better. Stop gathering more knowledge, more lectures, more talks. And I didn't have time to cover that, but when I took that picture about when I was leading a cow to the mandir for Gokul Ashtami, we would bring the cows. I took that picture to Swami to sign in the interview room. He flipped the discussion on its head and taught a very beautiful lesson. He said, be the calves of this cow. Be the calves of this. I said, what are you talking, Swami? English, we can't understand Swami's English. That is what he used to say. Medicine expire karta hai. I will expire the medicine, which he used to say in terms of vasanas. So, you know why I take you to Kodaikanal? During this time when you live 1 month with me in the same building, I take your vasanas and I bind them to my feet. What are vasanas? Your desires, your ambitions, your things which will take you more into the world and bind you more. And some of them are wrong. Some of them will earn you negative karma. He says, in Kodaikanal, I take your vasanas and I bind them to my feet. So, brothers, sisters, we went through this avatar without even knowing what he is doing. And that's the difference between first-hand experience and second-hand, third-hand experience. When Dr. Frank Baronowski visited the hostel in 83, he showed us a device with which he measured our auras before we thought about Swami, after we thought about a beautiful scenery, and what happened to the antenna of that device when we thought about Swami. When Narsimurthy sir, He was awarded, and when he thought about a beautiful scenery, the antenna tilted a little bit. Frank Baranowski, the only one who has seen and described the auras, which is such a redeeming thing for us. This Sai Baba came, we think he's waving his hands. Oh, no, 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 no. When Frank Baranowski saw him materialize Vibhuti, he saw a pink cloud envelop that child. It is curative far beyond what we think. That is how I know that when he rubbed Vibhuti on my father's heart, he just didn't will that, okay, he lived from 54 to 86 when he might have had to pass away much before. But he said, beyond physical transformation, I'm going to transform this guy into one of my students. I'm going to make him like a person who loves me, from an executive, a corporate person, dry in the heart. I'm going to make him my bhakta. That is what I am doing here. Right? So what is it? So Frank Baranowski is the one who, so in that incident when he came to the hostel, we are sitting in our dining hall, then he asked Narasimurthy, now think about a scenery. So the antenna tilted more. And this is the power of first-hand experience. He told him, now think about Swami and your best interaction with Swami. He thought about that. Frank Baranowski opened the door and went to the edge of the hostel with that device. That is what happened to his aura. Just in a casual, unprepared moment when he brought to mind that experience with Swami. He walked so long. So later on, on his way back, he measured it. It went like 50 feet. So don't underestimate what Swami has given us even here. Don't only think that I did bhajan. No, no, no. We are missing it. From this bhajan, a dimension is opening. A portal is opening. This is not science fiction. This is not some blabbering that I'm doing. There is something that you are creating in His name. But you are not entering that. We have become so complacent. That is my feeling. And I'm an insider, right? So even to our science center people, I keep telling this. We have become complacent. We got so much that we think this itself is enough. No, no, no. We have to build on this. We have to build on this. That is what Swami expects from us. Diya, but kuch kiya nahi. Diya, I gave, but they didn't do anything with it. Do we want that label later? No, in our own small way. And how is that going to happen? By that acceleration. And how is acceleration going to come? I'm going to give you a quick example. You see that picture? We went to Chennai with Swami in 1991, and Swami was staying separate. He was staying in Sundaram. There was no place for us. We were two batches. So we were staying in one of the trust members, V. Srinivasan's guest house. It was very far away. So we would make factory visits, and then we would go to Abbotsbury, where Swami was giving darshan. Now, we were there for a week. Every single day when our bus entered Abbotsbury, we heard Aarti. What is the meaning of Aarti? Means you can't get to see Swami. So all of us got so frustrated. Our mothers, fathers were all asking, hey, you guys are enjoying with Swami. Sai students from the hostel were writing to us, calling us, oh, you all are enjoying with Swami. No, man, we are not enjoying. We are not even seeing Swami. So seriously, that was our situation. And that is how we are brought up, right? We are not interested in other things. The whole mission of our lives was to be near Him as far as possible, as much as possible. And obviously, it was such a big magnet that everybody just wanted that. Now, in that, personally, I'm telling you, I do not mean to highlight myself at all. That is foolishness. This avatar knows every pulse, every thought of us. But I'm telling you this, now I am also aging. I thought I can share this with you in the spirit of what I learned from that. So we were driving back in the bus, and again we heard Aarti. It was day 5. I just couldn't tolerate. I broke down, and the other student was sitting next to me, said, it's okay, Ravi, we'll see him in Bhartiya. I said, what nonsense, this is crazy. And the seat, the seat side, I just pulled it. I think I damaged the bus a little bit. But anyway, But when I went, our bus then that day, Swami asked it to come to Sundaram. I had no idea how things are going to unfold. We got down in Sundaram and we could not see anything. We were getting down from the bus. When I got down from the bus, Swami was standing behind the door of the bus. And he just clasped my hand and he took me. He materialized Vibhuti. And there's a beautiful Shirdi Baba statue. And that time they had installed a golden umbrella for it. So Swami took my hand and gave me Vibhuti and said, Aim Tidira. Just like that, he's making conversation. What is this? And I was like, until then, I was in cold storage for Swami anyway. He never spoke to me by name or until then. And at that moment, he sort of acknowledged, I don't know whether, I think it was anger and frustration, but he said, okay, I'm going to interpret it as your bhakti. And he rewarded me. And then what happened, that opened the floodgates of my personal contact with Swami. That picture is in Vrindavan, outside the Trai Mandir. And Swami was never talking to me except this incident in Sundaram. So we were taking photos, individual photos Swami had accepted. So I went there. Now what happened at that moment is the sun's shadow of the Trai Vrindavan building suddenly covered Swami and me. Now, these boys were taking, including, I think GV Sanjay was there, there were 7 camera people, boys. All of them said, Swami, it's coming black. And because it was broad daylight, none of them had brought their flash. So all 7 of them ran to the hostel to bring their flashes. In the meanwhile, Swami gave me like a private interview. And you see, he's turning back and talking to me. This is all the shadow, the benefit of the sun casting a shadow on us. So the reason I bring this example up to you, yes, it's very personal. It sounds like Ravi is showing off, but it doesn't matter if that's how you want to take it. But for me personally in my life, it has taught me that, Ravi, if you want to do this, if you want to keep going, and if you want to keep increasing your contact with Swami, if you want to accelerate on this spiritual path, you have to have intensity. You have to feel the frustration of not finding Swami, not being with him. Why am I missing out? And we know that he was not just the form. So if when you pray, if when you chant his name, if a tear doesn't come to your eyes, if you don't feel that love, if you don't have that, then you know that you're missing. And you don't need anybody else to tell you this. You don't need your husband or your kid or anybody else to come and point that out to you. You know it. And Swami is all the time posing this question to us. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? So from every mundane task, from every organizational work that you undertake, there is no point just doing all this to please our peers or our community. We got to find a way to develop that hotline with Swami. Some of us will do it, some of us may not. Some of us will do it later. But I'm inviting you to take the few incidents that I narrated, right? How I went in those black and white photos to be near. And I wanted everything on day 1, but I got to live in Swami's residence in my 19th year in Prashanti Nilayam. And the first thing that happened after that successful talk was the next talk, I forgot my speech. And then the next 7 years, I was in cold storage and all the other students were making fun of me. What's the use of all this thing? You're not going to Kodaikanal. Swami took me to Kodaikanal later. Then he took me to Chennai. He has his own timeline. Today I'm smiling and telling you that because he gave me more than this pot of my body and mind can hold, and I know I don't deserve it at all. And I told you only a fraction of my experiences. Fraction. There are so many more inspiring things that happen. So you got to recount to yourself in a inner chamber, reflect on your own failures. What could I have done better? And that's when he's very happy. He is very pleased with the person who looks hard at himself and says, Swami, I could have done better. Next time I'll do it. And then act. Act if there is no guidance. Act if there is some guidance. And 100% act if the guidance is direct. If Swami comes and tell you something in a dream, or you are fully convinced, you must act. Don't waste that opportunity, because you don't know what he's opening up as an opportunity in front of you by putting your own mind and staying on the fence. So act irrespective. But you can act well only if you're like Hanuman was with Vibhishana. His life was eventful. His life was never confined to narrow reductionism. His life was always about doing more, doing more. And when we asked Swami, I was there in the interview room when they asked Swami, Swami, inta pani jarutunai, there's so much work going on. Okay, advertisement and a petavachu, we can put one advertisement on. He shouted at them. He said to the trust members, he said, you didn't understand anything about Swami, your trust member. I don't want any advertisement. And then they tried another one, and it's natural. They were doing their job. Say, Swami, so much waiting list is there. Can we limit the patients only to devotees? He said, who is a devotee? And if you go to see this expansion love, as he called it, right? So simple. See, Swami's teachings are always like this. Monam, you are doing mono acting, I am doing maunam acting. And then he used to come out and tell us, Andaru meeku bumpsu jumpsu. That's all he would say. And we, of course, we knew bumpsu jumpsu means today you are up in the sky. Oh, I got good marks in chemistry. Tomorrow you do bad in a subject. You say, Swami is not God. Right? Me andariki jumpsu bumpsu jumpsu. And then he used to say, ఇప్పుడు మీ అందరికీ ఫోర్స్ నుంచి వస్తుంది. మీన్స్ you have to get up at 5 o'clock, go for Suprabhatam. You have to come for darshan. You have to go. There was nobody bunking classes and all that. ఇప్పుడు అంతా ఫోర్స్ ఎక్స్టర్నల్, ఇట్స్ కమింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ అవుట్ సైడ్. తర్వాత మీకు అర్థమైతే లోపల నుంచి సోర్స్ నుంచి వస్తుంది. లేటర్ వెన్ యూ అండర్స్టాండ్, it will come from the source. So brothers, sisters, we haven't found that source. We haven't. Teachings, talks, arguments, discussions, study circle is all force. In each one of us, Swami wants to awaken that jyoti, that guidance for the world. And don't make the mistake of, that's what I said. If I had thought, yeah, I'm just a clinical perfusionist and one of many, I'm not some cardiac surgeon. Why do I need to? No, everybody matters in the same way. Don't put yourself down and say, I'm just one devotee. Anyway, there are other 20 million devotees, they will do it. No. Don't make that mistake. You will be left out. The loss will be yours. As I found out many a time, that be up to the task. Have that can-do attitude. and go and work for Swami. So, in the process of your acceleration, make sure that that intensity is coming along with you. If you are doing everything like we do, we sit for dhyanam. What do? Every day, same time, same place, same useless thoughts. You sit. What happens in your dhyanam? It's a thought party. All the unfinished thoughts, you are sitting in front of Swami's photo and thinking about those thoughts. No, sit with resolve. Sit as if today I am going to get self-realization. If you do that, that is how Swami would like us to do it. So when you say make it a practice, doesn't mean you make it dull and as if it doesn't matter. Make it as if it matters a lot to you. I will stop here. I know that it is time for other things, and I'm very, very grateful to Suri ji, Teja ji for their residence and for the way they hosted all of us. I thank all of you very deeply from the bottom of my heart in preparing for this talk. I broke down so many times. Even 2 days back, I was talking with my wife, and she said, "Do you have a speech? Otherwise, you'll just go and waste everybody's time there." And many times after I have spoken, she said, you really should stop speaking." But so I was telling her, and I was breaking down. He said, "Okay, you're ready." So if you are able to break down, and this Sai Avatar is totally different. This is not one of the other things that will happen in your life. Everything else is secondary. And we have to give a lot of thanks to him. And I give a lot of thanks to you that you gave me an opportunity to go back into those treasure-filled, valuable moments. I hope you got some of what I was saying. And again, don't worry about more concepts. There's a discourse he gave in 2008 where he's weeping and telling there is no need for so much Sanskrit. It's not me. If I had said it, you'll boot me out from it. Swami is saying, too much Sanskrit, too much complexity. And our YAs, our young adults, our young kids are leading us in that direction, right? It's not important whether I use high-flowing, high-funda words. It's more important that I increase my love. And so what is essential? What should we and our kids do which is going to bind us with him, going to make us weep every time we see his picture, chant his name all the time, so that guidance, that stickiness with Swami is there. Work on that. With that, I thank you all and I wish you a very happy centenary birthday. May Sai bless and elevate us all. Sai.